I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode number 109, Emotional Investment, Part 1. Your life does not have to revolve around your husband's pornography addiction. You are not defined by his choices or by what he sees on a screen. You are not just the porn addict's wife. You are so much more. In this podcast, I'm going to teach you how to go from handling it to healed, because I've been where you are and you don't have to stay there. My name is Jolene Wynn. I'm a member of the LDS faith, a certified life coach, and a wife of a former porn addict. And this is a podcast for the porn addict's wife. Hello, my ladies. Happy Monday. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys had a great week. I had an amazing week. Let me tell you a little bit about it. So last week, my little family and I met up with my brother's family, my sister's family, and my parents in Texas. And we were in The Chosen. And it was such an amazing experience. We did this last year. If you guys haven't seen The Chosen, you have to go watch it. Okay, so it's all about Jesus and his disciples and his apostles and their lives. And it is so amazingly done. And it makes them just so very real. You just get to see the human side of them, which of course is all just what we gather. But it's just so incredible. You guys have to go watch it. And last year we went to Texas and we were in The Chosen in the scene of the Sermon on the Mount. And this year we went for the feeding of the 5,000. And it was insane. It was so much fun. It was amazing to, first of all, to see what production of a film actually looks like, to see the organization of literally thousands of people. They had 2 days where people came in and they had thousands of people each day. And they ran it like a well-oiled machine. It was quite impressive, which they did last year, but they did even better this year. It was amazing. And it was very hot. So last year we froze and this year we were burning. It was very hot, but it wasn't as bad. Our day, actually, we got a little bit of cloud coverage. It was nice. Very, very nice. If you guys follow me on Instagram, then you guys saw I posted some pictures, or I tried to. We didn't have any service. So I tried to post some pictures so you guys could see us all dressed up, and my kids looked all cute in their, costumes. Anyway, it was so fun. And what was really neat about it that I loved last time, which is the reason why we went again, is that there's something super powerful about being in a place of like-minded individuals. It's so fun. So while I didn't go to this because I was hoping to get in a movie. Literally thousands of people, and we're at the very back both times. And that's okay. The point wasn't to get in the movie. And the reason that I brought my kids with me both times was to put them in these types of places on purpose. A little bit of a tangent here, but I have realized as a parent, there are so many influences on our kids. And there's so many influences on ourselves, even if you don't have kids. There's so many people that are clamoring for your attention, especially if you're on social media. Literally thousands, millions of people that influence the way that you think and the way that you behave. And there's something so powerful about putting yourself in places on purpose, surrounding yourself with the type of people that you want to be like, surrounding yourself in a group of individuals who are all striving for the same goal. It's amazing. And I wanted my kids to be in that last year, and I wanted them to do it again. My kids are often in places that I don't love, right? We're in the world. We live in a world with lots of influences, and I want to put my kids in places. I want to put myself in places on purpose. I want to put myself in places where I can grow, where I can be inspired, where I can look around at the people that surround me and be uplifted by them and they make me want to be better. That's where I want to be. That's where I want to put myself. And that was the power of going this time as well. And to see even more people this time than last year was just so incredible. And that's something that I want to really encourage y'all, is to take stock of who you surround yourself with. This is a whole nother podcast episode, but take stock of who you surround yourself with and the places and circumstances you put yourself in. A lot of times they're way more in control than we think. Okay. A lot of times we think that, well, I can't avoid that. That's just who I have. Those are just my friends. Those are just the people that I go to church with. Those are just the people that I go to work with. It's not necessarily true. And especially if you're on social media, I really want to encourage you to limit the people that you follow or that you are influenced by, because they all matter. Okay, so there's your tangent for today. But speaking of, ladies, let me offer to you guys, speaking of surrounding yourself with amazing people, ladies, next month in July, I don't have a specific date yet, but next month in July is when tickets go live for y'all to come join my Go Forward that I am hosting in Nashville in October. Okay, more details are going to be coming on my email list. So if you guys want first access to those tickets, there are only 15 spots. They're going to my clients this month. They open up for my clients first. They're going to open up to y'all in July, so in just a few weeks. And if you want to know all the details and have first dibs on those spots, you need to go sign up for my email list. Go to joleneWynn.com. You can type in your email address. That'll get you on my email list. If you are signed up at one point, go check your spam folder and mark it so that they don't go to spam, so that you get them, because I promise you are not going to want to miss this. These are going to sell out. We are going to have the best weekend ever, the best girls trip, and it is going to be full of coaching and full of so much fun. This retreat is just for those of you who want to have the most amazing weekend, the most incredible experience, and take this as an opportunity to, again, put yourself in a place where you're surrounding yourself by women who want to move forward, women who you can walk into that room and you don't even have to say anything. They get it. They know. And you guys can hug and you can meet and you can hang out and we can work on progressing you even further. I mean, imagine the amount of information and growth that you've just gotten from the podcast. That's going to be 100 times when we're doing this in person. Okay. I'm so excited to plan it, to create the content for it, to coach, and to also just get to know y'all on a better level and help those who come more on a one-on-one personal basis. So again, go to joleneWynn.com, sign up for my emails so that you guys don't miss that, because they are going to sell out and they're going to sell out fast. So excited about that. But let's dive into today. Today, I want to talk about emotional investment. I'm going to do this in two parts. The first part today, we're going to talk about personal emotional investment. And next week, I'm going to talk about emotional investment in relationships. Now, this is so fascinating that I was thinking of this, and what happened this week personally is that my emotional investment came into question. Not came into question, but we had some things fall through that in our personal lives with my kids' school that they were going to, as well as with our little brick and mortar business, that we thought were going to be moving things forward, and they actually fell through. And when this happened, I saw my thoughts and my feelings, and I processed my emotions. But as I was working through that, I recognized the pattern that I was going through and how different it is for other people. And so I kind of broke it down today, and hopefully I broke it down in a way that y'all can follow. But it's coming from a lot of personal experience throughout this last week. So if I get a little emotional, that's why. Okay. So here's what happens. When what we dream of clashes with where we are, it brings up our fears, okay? So when you have something that you thought was going to go a certain direction, and all of a sudden you're very aware that that's not how it's going, all of these fears come up, right? Fear of failure, fear of emotional pain, fear of facing things we've spent years shoving beneath the surface, right? When that fear comes up, our brain uses other areas of investment to rationalize our way out of facing that negative emotional pressure head on. Okay? Stay with me. I'm going to use some examples. Okay? But here, let me explain this again. When we have something that we want and we're going after it, whether that's a relationship or a dream or a goal weight or a job that we really want to get or something like that, and then something happens, maybe it's a circumstance that happens, and all of a sudden we're very aware of the disparity between where we want to go and where we are, then all of these fears come up. What if this doesn't happen? What if I fail? What if I have to face all of these things that I haven't wanted to face? What if I have to actually look at the anxiety of social situations, right? All of these fears that we have come to the surface. Now, when that happens, our brain wants to avoid pain at all costs. Remember that? So it includes emotional pain. So when these fears come up, all this negative emotion or this emotional pain, our brain wants to shove that away. Now, it doesn't want to do that and say it's a scaredy cat. So what it wants to do is instead use other investments, areas of investment, as a rationalization for why we're not going to do the thing that we thought we wanted to do. Okay, so let's do some examples. Okay, it will use maybe, for example, financial investment as a reason to avoid emotional investment. Okay, so have you ever thought about, oh my gosh, I would love to join this gym, or I would love to hire a personal trainer, right? That's what I want in order to get me where I want to go. And then your brain says, well, and then there's this little tiny fear that comes up of like, what if it doesn't work? What if I spend all that money and I don't get where I want to go? What if I don't get the results that I want? Your brain, so that fear comes up, and then your brain will use, for example, financial investment as a reason not to do it. And it sounds very rational, right? It's like, that's too expensive, or I can't afford it right now, or I'll just use this free app instead. Okay? Your brain will use different areas of investment as a way to avoid emotional investment. Okay? Another area that it might come up and use is time. Have you guys ever thought that? There's something that you really want to do. Maybe you want to go back to school. Okay? But your brain, when you say, okay, I want to go back to school, but you're not in school, and it brings up all these fears of how am I going to do it, and how am I going to do it, and how am I going to pay for it, and how am I going to, what if I fail? What if it doesn't produce the result that I want? What if I'm no good at it? What if I am terrible at it, right? All of those fears come up, and so then your brain will use maybe time investment as a reason not to do it, right? I don't have time. There's no way I could do that right now. I'm at home with kids, right? Whatever it is, your brain will use time as a reason to do it. Okay. It might also use energy investment, right? I have too much on my plate right now. Have you guys ever thought that? Okay. Here's the truth with all of these is that they're all facades. Okay. All of these different excuses are hiding the real reason for our hesitation, which is our desire to avoid pain, which our brain thinks that we do by limiting our emotional investment. Okay? Now, here's the kicker. It's impossible to avoid emotional investment in yourself. The idea that you can avoid emotional investment is a lie. Either what you are doing or investing in is producing negative returns, or it's producing positive returns. Okay? The lie that our brain believes is that if we avoid pivoting on purpose, if we avoid investing emotionally on purpose, if we see that negative return and choose to ignore it, that it's somehow going to be better than facing it head on and adjusting course. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Your brain thinks that ignorance is avoidance of emotional investment, and that's a lie. Ignorance is not avoidance. It's intentional negative investment, okay? The only way to produce positive returns is to intentionally invest, knowing full well that it's not going to be easy waters. There will be storms, ladies. There will be downpours. Oh my gosh, here it comes, okay? There will be winds. There will be days when you want to give up, days when you just feel like letting go and drowning. But knowing that those storms push you closer to your destination and not farther away. When you intentionally, emotionally invest in yourself, you still control the helm, even in the storm. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Whether you do it on purpose or you simply allow life to steer you, you are emotionally invested in yourself either way. Both paths are full of challenges. Both are full of negative and positive emotions, right? Remember, they're both 50-50. Life is 50-50 always, either way. But one way you live a life where you aren't in control, where your emotions run you, where you're exhausted and you're fighting just to stay afloat, where when circumstances happen, you give up, you quit. The other way is also tough, but you're in charge. You determine where your energy goes, and you use that emotional positivity to drive your actions to create your dream life. So why not do it on purpose with the possibility of achieving your dreams? I want to break this down for you. I kind of created, this is not scientific, y'all, but I created two different thoughts in my brain as I was comparing emotional investment and the way that I handled this situation this last week and versus how we typically handle things. And I broke it down, and I want to give an example to hopefully help you guys solidify this, because I know this is very meta, and I want to encourage y'all to go back and listen to this again, okay? There's two types of emotional investment, all right? There's impulsive emotional investment, and then there's intentional emotional investment, okay? And I'm going to go through both of them. Impulsive emotional investment has 4 different phases. Okay, I'm going to break it down. The first phase is the honeymoon phase. Okay, this is when you're all in. Okay, this is when you are naively ignoring red flags. This is when you're running on adrenaline and excitement and mostly willpower. Okay, now I'm going to go through an example in just a minute, but just stay with me. Phase 2 is the dramatic change phase, okay? Because when you're running on willpower and adrenaline and you're ignoring all the red flags, there's a lot of really quick results, okay? You change it all. It's very all or nothing often, right? It's either cut everything out or add everything in or get rid of all the bad habits, and you're running really on willpower and a lot of self-discipline, okay? But that can only last for so long, because then comes phase number 3, which is the burnout phase, okay? This is when you hit emotional fatigue. Okay, when willpower runs out and you're just kind of running on fumes, okay, and you become depleted. Okay, this is when you give up diets and you quit programs and you stop habits that you've been trying to create, okay? And then phase 4 is the tap out phase, okay? This is when you're running on these fumes, when a circumstance happens and you have nothing left. This is when your brain has the excuse that it needs to tap out. And then you quit. Okay? Do you guys see what I'm saying? Let's do an example of this. Okay? As always, I go with weight loss because it's the one that I resonate with the most. Okay? Okay, so let's do an example of using when we are impulsively emotionally invested. Okay? Phase 1, you're like, all right, here we are. I'm in the honeymoon phase. I'm going to lose 15 pounds by summer and get my bikini body, right? Okay, so you're like, here we go. You're all running on adrenaline. You join the gym. You working out twice a day. You cut out all the carbs. You stop drinking soda. You stop drinking alcohol. You cut out flour and sugar. And you are counting your calories and counting your steps, and you're going for it, okay? And it's very all or nothing, okay? And even if sometimes you have an urge to have something else, you just kind of shove it down, you pretend it's not there, okay? That's the honeymoon phase. And then phase 2 is where you get dramatic results because you're doing something incredible, right? You are cutting out everything out of your diet and you're all in and you're working out twice a day. So we have some dramatic changes because that's a big lifestyle change. So phase 2 is the dramatic change phase. So the first week you lose 6 pounds. Right? Mostly water weight, but we're so excited. Second week, you lose 2. Third week, you lose 1.5. Fourth week, you gain 1 pound, right? Ladies, is everyone nodding along and they're like, oh my gosh, been there. Phase number 3 is the burnout phase. You're exhausted. You're working out twice a day. You haven't eaten carbs in 6 weeks. You haven't made it 6 weeks. 3 weeks. Let's do 3 weeks. Haven't eaten carbs in 3 weeks. You've given up everything. You've stopped buying any treats. You don't eat anything that isn't a fruit or a vegetable. It's exhausting. You have no energy. You're hangry all the time. You're drained. You feel deprived. You feel left out when you go places. You start to question your motivation, and you even question whether or not this is worth it because you're quite frankly very miserable. Okay? So you're totally burnt out and running on fumes. And then comes phase number 4, which is when you tap out. When your brain is looking for an excuse, a reason to stop, okay? Maybe there's a family trip. Maybe you have a sore knee. Maybe you have a lack of progress. There's something that your brain, maybe you have a dinner out with your husband's boss. Like your brain finds some circumstance, some reason as a valid reason to stop because it's too hard. And then you quit. Okay? That is what happens when we are impulsively emotionally invested. When you join the thing just because everyone else is, or it looks like fun, right? Then when push comes to shove, when crap hits the fan, you want to bow out, you tap out, you quit. Okay, I have done this so many times in my life, ladies. I'm not sitting here on a throne of glory saying that I do this perfectly. I do not. Okay, I've done this so many times. Okay, the thing that's coming to my mind all of a sudden is when I told my mom I was going to run a marathon with her. This was years ago. Ladies, I do not run. I do not like running. I do not want to run a marathon. And I told her I was going to run a marathon, and I started training, and I was like, man, I don't really want to do this. This is really hard. And at first I did this whole phase, right? At the honeymoon phase, I was like, yeah, this is going to be great. We're going to do it. I'm so excited. I started training and it was great. And then I went through the dramatic change phase. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm running like 6 miles a day. This is fantastic. This is getting so great. I am amazing. And I started running, and a couple of weeks in, I kind of got to that burnout. And I was like, this stinks. I am tired. My knees hurt. I am getting so tired of running. I don't even like to run. Okay. And my brain started looking for reasons to opt out. Lo and behold, shin splints came. And I was like, there it is. There's the reason that I need to opt out, to tap out without feeling bad about it. Here's the thing is your brain is so good at finding reasons to stop something that is emotionally challenging that it will find one that sounds very, very rational, very adult, something that everybody would agree on. Of course you can't run a marathon. Of course you can't train for a marathon. You have shin splints. Of course you can't join that program. It's too expensive. Of course you can't go back to school. You have kids at home. It all sounds very rational, very reasonable. It sounds like something everyone would agree on. And so you can do it without feeling guilty. The only problem with this, ladies, is that then you are living your life looking for excuses for reasons not to go after the thing that you want, not to do the thing that you want to do. And it's kind of a little bit sad. You're like, yeah, that's a reasonable reason not to do it, but then I don't get to do it. Then I don't have the result that I actually want to have. Okay. Now contrast that with intentional emotional investment. Okay. There's 4 phases to this one as well. You ready? The first one is the optimistic phase. Okay. This is also when you are all in. Okay. Just like the honeymoon phase, you're all in. However, there's a difference in that you are cognitively aware of what you don't know and what could happen, but you're willing to go forward anyway. Okay, you're excited, you are optimistic. This came up a couple weeks ago. I was talking to a gentleman who is a commercial realtor. He's someone that we actually worked with years ago when we opened our little children's museum that we have. And when we were talking about small business and opening small businesses, and he was talking about those that he works with, and he was saying, I think, he's like, I can tell when an owner or a potential owner of a small business who wants to open, I can tell whether or not they're going to succeed because you need to have a little bit of anxiety. You need to have a little bit of fear, a little bit of anxiety that it's not going to work out. You need to understand and have a realistic idea of what could happen. And I disagree. Having opened a small business and then having started my own coaching business, I don't think anxiety is required. What I think is required, and not necessarily required, but a much easier way to do it, is being optimistic. That desire, that dream that you can create the thing that seems impossible. Not knowing 100% how you're going to do it, but knowing you're all in anyway, that you're willing to go in and figure it out, right? You're optimistic. You're like, I know that I don't know everything, but I can figure it out. I know I don't know how to open this business, but I know I can figure it out. And I want to figure it out. That's what this optimistic phase is. It's being aware of what you don't know. Understanding there are going to be things that come up, but willing to do it anyway. You're excited. You're optimistic. You're not naive. You're not going in with, you're not ignoring the red flags. You're not trying to ignore the things you don't know. You're very aware of the things that you don't know, but you want to go do it anyway. And you're ready. That's what this optimistic phase is, okay? Phase number 2 is the steady growth phase. So contrasted with the dramatic growth phase, steady growth phase is not overnight, okay? It requires patience and it requires managing your brain. Ladies, if there's anything that I have learned how to do over the last couple of years that I'm still learning, it is how to manage my brain. When I think that my business should be further than it is, that I should have more clients than I do, that I should be better at marketing than I am, that even our small business, our brick and mortar, that should be further along than it is, okay? It all takes managing your mind and knowing that nothing has gone wrong. You expect 50-50 and you give yourself permission to feel the positive and the negative. Right? On the contrast with that, with the dramatic growth phase, all you want is dramatic results. All you want is to see the number on the scale go down significantly. But when you are in the steady growth phase and you're willing to, you give yourself permission to have a bad day. You give yourself permission to feel negative. Right, in the other scenario, when you're in the impulsive emotional investment, you're just trying to ignore all the negative. You ignore the impulse, you ignore the urges, you're just trying to avoid negative emotion at all costs. This one, you accept it, you allow it, it's 50-50. And that's what puts you in phase number 3, which is the pivot phase. Okay? Now, in the pivot phase, this is when a circumstance happens, right? And you process the feelings that come with it. And then you look at it and you choose how to respond on purpose, not based on what feels best in the moment, but what gets you closer to your ultimate goal. Okay? This is when you're willing to adjust course. Does this make sense? This is when you are willing to say, okay, this isn't working. What if I need to adjust here? How would I do it? I'm getting burnt out. I'm feeling drained. I'm recognizing that. How do I pivot so that I can keep going rather than stop? And that's what leads to phase number 4, which is the execution phase. Okay. This is where you do. This is where you take action. Okay. This is where you take the action that is required, not through willpower, but through mind management. Okay. By managing your brain, your thoughts, and processing your feelings, the results follow on their own. And that's when you achieve your dream. Okay, so let's go through that same weight loss example, but with the intentional emotional investment phases instead. Okay, so phase number 1, right? This is, what did I call it? The optimistic phase. Okay, this is when you say, okay, I have this goal. Let's do the same goal, lose 15 pounds by the summer, get my bikini body, whatever it is, okay? Whatever your goal is, your weight loss goal. You choose workouts that you enjoy. You commit to maybe 4 times a week, knowing that you may fail at that, knowing that it might be difficult, and you're totally all in anyway, okay? That's what that means. You're optimistic that you can achieve the result that you want, okay? Then we're in the steady growth phase. Maybe you lose 1 pound the first week. Maybe you lose 1 pound the second week. Maybe you lose half a pound the third week. Maybe you don't lose any weight for the next 3, but you're all in, okay? And you have to manage your mind here and know that nothing has gone wrong, right? Because phase 3 comes along, and that is the pivot phase. Okay, this is when you take stock. This is when you balance that 50-50. You manage your mind, you process those feelings, and you pivot as needed or continue forward on the path that you are going on, knowing that nothing has gone wrong, believing that what you are doing is working. You just have to give it enough time to show results, okay? And then phase 4 is the execution phase, where you actually do that, where you actually do keep going. You execute a new plan. If you decided to change up your workouts, if you decided to cut your calories a little bit, whatever it is, you execute on that plan. You manage your thoughts, you manage your emotions, you process your emotions, and then eventually you achieve your results. And maybe it didn't happen along your timeline. But the more you keep going, the more you believe in this, the more you are intentionally invested, the less the timeline matters. Ladies, this goes for everything. I know we're giving the weight loss example, but this goes for everything. Anything that you are emotionally invested in for you personally, the more you are intentionally emotionally invested versus impulsively emotionally invested, the less the timeline matters. Because you understand that the steady work that you're going to put in is going to give you steady results back. Okay? Again, ladies, if you go back and think about what I was talking about in the beginning, so often we don't want to emotionally invest in ourselves because it seems too hard. I'm going to tell you, ladies, it is. It's hard. There are days when I want to quit. Doesn't happen often. Yesterday, I gave myself a day. I gave myself one day to process the thoughts and process the emotions that came up of wanting to quit. Because everything seems too hard and it seems like it's not working. And it seems like everything that I'm trying to create is falling apart. And if I were just impulsively emotionally invested, this would be the perfect circumstance to quit. The perfect excuse, the most reasonable excuse that everyone would agree is exactly fine and it wouldn't be my fault. And everyone would agree, yeah, of course you should quit. That makes so much sense. It's probably better if you do. That's what would happen if I were impulsively emotionally invested in either of my businesses right now. But I'm not. I'm intentionally emotionally invested. I knew when I had signed up to do this that there were going to be days where I wanted to stop, that there were going to be days of 50-50, that there were going to be days where I didn't want to do this anymore, where I wanted to give up because things are too hard. My emotions are too hard. I'm too scared. I can't do it. My fear of failure is bigger than what it normally is. But it's not true. I am intentionally emotionally invested not only in myself, but also in y'all. I am emotionally invested on purpose in each one of you, and that's why I'm not quitting. Because my reason to do it is bigger than my reason to stop. And that's, ladies, what I want to encourage you to decide. And it is a decision. I almost called it cognitive emotional investment. It's deciding on purpose, but it's intentional, right? Deciding on purpose. That's what intentional means, right? Our word for the year, intentional. Deciding on purpose to invest in yourself, knowing full well there are going to be days of 50-50. Knowing full well that there are going to be days where you want to quit, but not giving yourself permission to do so. Giving yourself permission to feel it, but then not acting on it because you deserve more. I was talking to Rob last night and I was just sharing all of this. I was talking to Rob about all of this and I was just kind of venting, I guess I should say. And just saying, I just want to quit. I just want to stop. This is too hard. And he said, when you get where you want to go, you're going to know that you deserve it. And ladies, that's what I want for each one of you. Think about the thing you want to do. When you think about emotionally investing in yourself, whether that is a result that you want, whether that is a goal weight or a desire to go back to school, or whether if your goal is to be emotionally healthy. There's so many of you that I talk to, that I receive messages from, that just want to be not where you are emotionally. Whatever your goal is, I want to encourage y'all to invest intentionally in who you are emotionally. I want you to do intentional emotional investment rather than impulsive emotional investment. And that may be challenging and it's going to bring up all your stuff. Okay? It's supposed to. So that you can face it head on and use it to move forward rather than use it as a reason to stay where you are. All right, ladies. I love you so much. If you want help with your emotional investment, come coach with me. I would love to help you. And I'll see you guys next week on a brand new episode. So take care. All right, ladies, if you are loving what you are learning on the podcast, I want to invite you to come join my coaching program. This is where we take it to the next level and we actually start applying and learning the how of moving forward. This podcast has taught you the what, and the coaching program is where you're going to learn the how. This is where you learn how to actually start moving forward, process all of that pain that you feel, and let it go once and for all. If you are ready to finally move forward and stop living a life that revolves around your husband's pornography addiction, then I want to invite you to come join me today. Just head to my website, joleneWynn.com, and sign up today. I can't wait to see you there.